Chapter 9. Organizing the Body of the Speech. Think about shopping in a store such as IKEA, Target, or Best Buy. Many of the items for sale are organizers, drawer organizers, desk organizers, closet organizers, kitchen organizers, bathroom organizers, office organizers, audio and video organizers. Why all this quest for organization? Obviously, when the objects you possess are well organized, they serve you better. Organization allows you to see what you have and to put your hands immediately on the garment, the tool, the piece of paper, the DVD you want without a frenzied search. Much the same is true of your speeches. If they are well organized, they will serve you better. Organization allows you and your listeners to see what ideas you have and to put mental hands on the most important ones. Organization is important. In a classic study, a college professor took a well-organized speech and scrambled it by randomly changing the order of its sentences. He then had a speaker deliver the original version to one group of listeners and the scrambled version to another group. After the speeches, he gave a test to see how well each group understood what they had heard. Not surprisingly, the group that heard the original unscrambled speech scored a much higher score than the other group. A few years later, two professors repeated the same experiment at another school, but instead of testing how well the listeners comprehended each speech, they tested to see what effects the speeches had on the listeners' attitudes toward the speakers. They found that people who heard the well-organized speech believed the speaker to be much more competent and trustworthy than did those who heard the scrambled speech. These are just two of many studies that show the importance of organization in effective speech making. Listeners demand coherence. Unlike readers, they cannot flip back to a previous page if they have trouble grasping a speaker's ideas. In this respect, a speech is much like a movie. Just as directors must be sure viewers can follow the plot of a film from beginning to end, so must a speaker be sure the listeners can follow the progression of ideas in a speech from beginning to end. This requires that speeches be organized strategically. They should be put together in particular ways to achieve particular results with particular audiences. Speech organization is important for other reasons as well. As we saw in Chapter 1, it is closely connected to critical thinking. When you work to organize your speeches, you gain patience in the general skill of establishing clear relationships among your ideas. This skill will serve you well throughout your college days and in almost any career you may choose. In addition to using a clear, specific method of speech organization can boost your confidence as a speaker and improve your ability to deliver a message fluently. The first step in developing a strong sense of speech organization is to gain command of the three basic parts of speech: introduction, body, and conclusion, and the strategic role in each. In this chapter, we deal with the body of the speech. The next chapter will take up the introduction and the conclusion. There are good reasons for talking first about the body of the speech. The body is the longest and most important part. Also, you will usually prepare the body first. It is easier to create an effective introduction after you know exactly what you will say in the body. The process of organizing the body of a speech begins when you determine the main points. Main points. The main points are the central features of your speech. You should select them carefully, phrase them precisely, and arrange them strategically. Here are the main points of a student speech about the use of hypnosis. Specific purpose: to inform my audience about some of the major uses of hypnosis. Central idea. 3 major uses of hypnosis today are to control pain in surgery, to help people stop smoking, and to help students improve their academic performance. Main points. 1. Hypnosis is used in surgery as an adjunct to chemical anesthesia. 2. Hypnosis is used to help people stop smoking. 3. Hypnosis is used to help students improve their academic performance. These 3 main points form the skeleton of the body of the speech. If there are 3 major uses of hypnosis, then logically there can be 3 main points in the speech. How do you choose your main points? Sometimes they will be evident from your specific purpose statement. Suppose your specific purpose is to inform my audience about the development, technology, and benefits of hydrogen fuel cells. Obviously, your speech will have 3 main points. The first will deal with the development of hydrogen fuel cells. The second with the technology behind hydrogen fuel cells. The third with the benefits of hydrogen fuel cells. Written in outline form, the main points might be: specific purpose, to inform my audience about the development, technology, and benefits of hydrogen fuel cells. Central idea. Developed as a highly efficient form of energy, hydrogen fuel cells use sophisticated technology and offer a number of economic and environmental benefits. Main points. 1. Hydrogen fuel cells were developed to provide a highly efficient form of energy. 2. Hydrogen fuel cells produce power through an electrochemical reaction involving hydrogen gas. 3. Hydrogen fuel cells provide an economically and environmentally superior method of powering motor vehicles. Even if your main points are not stated expressly in your specific purpose, they may be easy to project from it. Let's say your specific purpose is to inform my audience of the basic steps in making stained glass windows. You know each of your main points will correspond to a step in the window making process. They might look like this in outline form. Specific purpose: to inform my audience of the basic steps in making stained glass windows. Central idea: there are 4 steps in making stained glass windows. Main points. 1. The first step is designing the window. 2. The second step is cutting the glass to fit the design. 3. The third step is painting the glass. 4. The fourth step is assembling the window. You will not always settle on your main points so easily. Often they will emerge as you research the speech and evaluate your findings. Suppose your specific purpose is to persuade my audience that our state should not approve proposals for online voting. You know that each main point in the speech will present a reason why online voting should not be instituted in your state, but you aren't sure how many main points there will be or what they will be. As you research and study the topic, you decide there are 2 reasons to support your view. Each of these reasons will become a main point in your speech, written in outline form. They might be: specific purpose: to persuade my audience that our state should not approve proposals for online voting. Central idea: our state should not approve online voting because it will increase voter fraud and disenfranchise people without internet access. Main points. 1. Our state should not approve online voting because it will increase voter fraud. 2. Our state should not approve online voting because it will disenfranchise people without access to the internet. Number of main points. You will not have time in your classroom speeches to develop more than 4 or 5 main points, and speeches will contain only 2 or 3. Regardless of how long a speech might run, if you have too many main points, the audience will have trouble sorting them out. If, when you list your main points, you find that you have too many, you may be able to condense them into categories. Here is a set of main points for a speech about yoga. Specific purpose: to inform my audience about the practice of yoga. Central idea: yoga is an ancient practice that involves the whole body. Main points: 1. Yoga breathing starts with deep inhalation. 2. Yoga breathing requires slow exhalation. 3. Yoga breathing includes prolonged pauses. 4. Yoga breathing provides many benefits. 5. Yoga postures involve all parts of the body. 6. Yoga postures increase flexibility. 7. Yoga postures strengthen muscle tone. 8. Yoga postures demand precise movements. You have 8 main points, which is too many. But if you look at the list, you see that the 8 points fall into 2 broad categories: yoga, breathing, and yoga postures. You might therefore restate your main points this way. 1. One part of practicing yoga involves proper breathing. 2. Another part of yoga involves body postures. Strategic order of main points. Once you establish your main points, you need to decide the order in which you will present them. The most effective order depends on 3 things: your topic, your purpose, and your audience. Chapters 15 and 16 will cover special aspects of organizing informative speeches and persuasive speeches. Here, we look briefly at the 5 basic patterns of organization used most often by public speakers. Chronological order. Speeches arranged chronologically follow a time pattern. They may narrate a series of events in a sequence in which they happened. For example, specific purpose: to inform my audience how the Great Wall of China was built. Central idea: the Great Wall of China was built in 3 major stages. Main points: 1. Building of the Great Wall began during the Qin dynasty of 221 to 206 BC. 2. New sections of the Great Wall were added during the Han dynasty of 206 BC to 220 AD. 3. The Great Wall was completed during the Ming dynasty of 1368 through 1644. Chronological order is also used in speeches explaining a process or demonstrating how to do something. For example, specific purpose: to inform my audience of the steps in laser-assisted corrective eye surgery. Central idea: there are 3 main steps in laser-assisted corrective eye surgery. Main points: 1. First, a thin layer is sliced off the surface of the eye to expose the cornea. 2. Second, an ultraviolet laser is used to reshape the cornea. 3. Third, the thin layer sliced off at the beginning of the surgery is reaffixed to the eye. As this outline shows, chronological order is especially useful for informative speeches. Spatial order. Speeches arranged in spatial order follow a directional pattern. That is, the main points proceed from top to bottom, left to right, front to back, inside to outside, east to west, or some other route. For example, specific purpose: to inform my audience about the structure of a hurricane. Central idea: a hurricane is made up of 3 parts going from inside to outside. Main points: 1. At the center of a hurricane is the calm, cloud-free eye. 2. Surrounding the eye is the eye wall, a dense ring of clouds that produces the most intense wind and rainfall. 3. Rotating around the eye wall are large bands of clouds and precipitation called spiral rain bands. Or specific purpose, to inform my audience about the three major regions in Italy. Central idea, northern, central, and southern Italy have their own identities and attractions. Main points. 1. Northern Italy is home to Venice and its world-famous canals. 2. Central Italy is home to Rome and its historical treasures. 3. Southern Italy is home to Sicily and its culinary traditions. Spatial order, like chronological order, is used most often in informative speeches. Casual order. Speeches arranged in casual order organize main points so as to show a cause-effect relationship. When you put your speech in casual order, you have two main points, one dealing with the causes of an event, the other dealing with its effects. Depending on your topic, you can devote your first main point to the causes and the second to the effects, or you can deal first with the effects and then with the causes. Suppose your specific purpose is to persuade my audience that a growing shortage of air traffic controllers is a serious problem for U.S. aviation. Then you would begin with the causes of the shortage and work towards its effects. Specific purpose, to persuade my audience that a growing shortage of qualified air traffic controllers is a serious problem for U.S. aviation. Central idea. The growing shortage of certified air traffic controllers threatens the safety of air travel. Main points. 1. The U.S. aviation system faces a growing shortage of qualified air traffic controllers. 2. If this shortage continues, it will create serious problems for airline safety. When the effects you are discussing have already occurred, you may want to reverse the order and talk first about the effects, and then about their causes, as in this speech about the Mayan civilization of Central America. Specific purpose, to inform my audience about the possible causes for the collapse of Mayan civilization. Central idea, the causes for the collapse of Mayan civilization have not yet been fully explained. Main points. 1. The Mayan civilization flourished for over 1,000 years until 900 AD, when it mysteriously began to disintegrate. 2. Scientists have advanced three major explanations for the causes of this disintegration. Because of its versatility, casual order can be used for both persuasive speeches and informative speeches. Problem-solution order. Speeches arranged in problem-solution order are divided into two main parts. The first shows the existence and seriousness of a problem. The second presents a workable solution to that problem. For example, specific purpose, to persuade my audience that action is needed to combat the abuses of puppy mills. Central idea. Puppy mills are a serious problem that can be solved by a combination of legislation and individual initiative. Main points. 1. Puppy mills are a serious problem across the United States. 2. Solving the problem requires legislation and individual initiative. Or specific purpose, to persuade my audience that the Electoral College should be abolished. Central idea, because the Electoral College does not give equal weight to the vote of each citizen, it should be replaced with the direct popular election of the president. Main points. 1. The Electoral College is a serious problem in the United States political system because it does not give equal weight to each citizen's vote in electing the president. 2. The problem can be solved by abolishing the Electoral College and electing the president by popular vote. As these examples indicate, problem-solution order is most appropriate for persuasive speeches. Topical order. Topical order results when you divide the speech topic into subtopics, each of which becomes a main point in the speech. Let's say your topic is Josephine Baker, an African-American entertainer and social activist in the middle of the 20th century. You could reorganize your speech chronologically by discussing Baker's exploits during each decade of her career. On the other hand, you could arrange the speech topically by dividing Baker's accomplishments into categories. Then your central idea and main points might be: specific purpose, to inform my audience about the achievements of Josephine Baker. Central idea: Josephine Baker was a multi-talented figure in the fight for racial justice. Main points: 1. As an entertainer, Baker captivated audiences in Europe and America. 2. As a spy, Baker gathered information on Nazi activities in France during World War II. 3. As a civil rights activist, Baker worked for racial equality on a variety of fronts. Notice how the main points subdivided the speech topic logically and consistently. Each main point isolates one aspect of Baker's achievements, but suppose your main points look like this. 1. As an entertainer, Baker captivated audiences in Europe and America. 2. As a spy, Baker gathered information on Nazi activities in France during the World War II. 3. During the 1950s, Baker expanded her activities and the scope of her influence. This would not be a good topical order because main point 3 is inconsistent with the rest of the main points. It deals with a time period in Baker's life, whereas main points 1 and 2 deal with fields of achievement. The Josephine Baker example refers to an informative speech, but topical order also works for persuasive speeches. Usually, the topical subdivisions are the reasons why a speaker believes in a certain point of view. Here, for example, the main points for a speech on why the United States should continue its program of space exploration. Specific purpose: to persuade my audience that the United States should continue its program of space exploration. Central idea: the United States should continue its program of space exploration because it produces scientific knowledge, generates technological breakthroughs, and opens access to natural resources. Main points: 1. The space program produces scientific knowledge about the nature of the solar system. 2. The space program generates technological breakthroughs that benefit many aspects of human life. 3. The space program opens access to natural resources that are short in supply on Earth. Because it is applicable to any subject and to any kind of speech, topical order is used more often than any other method in speech organization. Tips for preparing main points. Keep main points separate. Each main point in a speech should be clearly independent of the others. Compare these two sets of main points for a speech about the process of producing a Broadway play. Ineffective. 1. The first step is choosing the play. 2. The second step is selecting the cast. 3. The third step is conducting rehearsals and then performing the play. The problem with the left-hand list is that point 3 contains 2 main points. It should be divided as shown in the right-hand list, which is more effective. 1. The first step is choosing the play. 2. The second step is selecting the cast. 3. The third step is conducting the rehearsals. 4. The fourth step is performing the play. Try to use the same pattern of wording for main points. Consider the following main points for an informative speech about the benefits of karate. Ineffective. 1. Karate gives you better mental discipline. 2. You will become physically stronger through karate. 3. Taking karate lessons will teach you self-defense. More effective. The right side. 1. Karate improves your mental discipline. 2. Karate increases your physical strength. 3. Karate teaches you self-defense. The set of main points on the right follows a consistent pattern of wording throughout. Therefore, it is easier to understand and easier to remember than the set on the left. You will find that it is not always possible to use this kind of parallel wording. Some speeches just don't lend themselves to such tidy arrangement, but try to keep the wording parallel when you can, for it is a good way to make sure your main points stand out from the details surrounding them. Balance the amount of time devoted to main points. Because your main points are so important, you want to be sure they all receive enough emphasis to be clear and convincing. This means allowing sufficient time to develop each main point. Suppose you discover that the proportion of time devoted to your main points is something like this. 1. 85%. 2. 10%. 3. 5%. A breakdown of this sort indicates one of two things. Either points 2 and 3 aren't really main points and you have only one main point, or points 2 and 3 haven't been given the attention that they need. If the latter, you should revise the body of the speech to bring the main points into better balance. This is not to say that all main points must receive exactly equal emphasis, but only that they should be roughly balanced. For example, either of the following would be fine. 1. 30%, 2. 40%, 3. 30%, or 1. 20%, 2. 30%, 3. 50%. The amount of time spent on each main point depends on the amount and complexity of supporting materials for each point. Supporting materials. By themselves, main points are only assertions. As we saw in Chapter 8, listeners need supporting materials to accept what a speaker says. The outline below demonstrates how supporting materials can be integrated into the body of a speech. In Chapter 11, we'll look at requirements for a complete speech outline. For now, concentrate on how the supporting materials relate to the main points. 1. Hypothesis is used in surgery as an adjunct to chemical anesthesia. A. Hypothesis reduces hypnosis reduces both the physical and physiological aspects of pain. 1. Hypnosis can double a person's pain threshold. 2. It reduces the fear that intensifies physical pain. B. Hypnosis is most useful in cases when the patient is known to have problems with general anesthesia. 1. Quotation from Dr. Harold Wayne of the Mayo Clinic. 2. Story of Linda Quay. 3. Statistics from Psychology Today. 2. Hypnosis is used to help people stop smoking. A. Many therapies utilize hypnosis to help people break their addiction to cigarettes. 1. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services considers hypnosis a safe and effective means of stopping smoking. 2. Success rates are as high as 70%. A. Story of Alex Hamilton. B. Quotation from New York psychiatrist Dr. Herbert Spiegel. B. Hypnosis does not work for all smokers. 1. A person must want to stop smoking for hypnosis to work. 2. A person must also be responsive to hypnotic suggestion. 3. Hypnosis is used to help students improve their academic performance. A. Hypnosis enables people to use their minds more effectively. 1. The conscious mind uses about 10% of a person's mental ability. 2. Hypnosis allows people to tap more of their mental power. B. Studies show that hypnosis can help people overcome many obstacles to academic success. 1. It improves ability to concentrate. 2. It increases reading speed. 3. It reduces test anxiety. In Chapter 8, we discussed the major kinds of supporting materials and how to use them. Here, we need stress only the importance of organizing your supporting materials so they are directly relevant to the main points they are supposed to support. Misplaced supporting materials are confusing. Here's an example. 1. There are several reasons why people immigrate to the United States. A. Over the years, millions of people have immigrated to the United States. B. Many people immigrate in search of economic opportunity. C. Others immigrate to attain political freedom. D. Still, others immigrate to escape religious persecution. The main point deals with the reasons immigrants come to the United States, as do supporting points B, C, and D. Supporting point A. Over the years, millions of people have immigrated to the United States. Does not. It is out of place and should not be included with this main point. If you find such a situation in your own speeches, try to reorganize your supporting points under appropriate main points like this. 1. Over the years, millions of people have immigrated to the United States. A. Since the American Revolution, more than 90 million people have immigrated to the United States. B. Today, there are 38 million Americans who were born in other countries. 2. There are several reasons why people immigrate to the United States. A. Many people immigrate in search of economic opportunity. B. Others immigrate to attain political freedom. C. Still others immigrate to escape religious persecution. Now you have 2 supporting points to back up your millions of people. Point and 3 supporting points to back up your reasons. Point. Once you have reorganized your main points and supporting points, you must give attention to the third element in the body of a speech: connectives. Connectives. Emily Chen was speaking to her class about the need for medical malpractice reform. She had rehearsed the speech several times, had a well-defined central idea, 3 sharp main points, and strong evidence to support her position. But when Emily delivered the speech, she said, "All right," every time she moved from one thought to the next. After a while, her classmates started counting. By the end of the speech, most were too busy waiting for the next "all right" to pay attention to Emily's message. Afterward, Emily said, "I never even thought about saying 'all right.' I guess it popped out when I didn't know what else to say." We have all stock phrases that we use to fill the space between thoughts. In casual conversation, they are seldom troublesome, but in speech making, they distract listeners by calling attention to themselves. What Emily's speech lacked were strong connectives, words or phrases that join one thought to another and indicate the relationship between them. Without connectives, a speech is disjointed and uncoordinated, much as a person would be without ligaments and tendons to join the bones and hold the organs in place. 4 types of speech connectives are transitions, internal previews, internal summaries, and signposts. Transitions. Transitions are words or phrases that indicate when a speaker has just completed one thought and is moving on to another. Technically, the transition states both the idea the speaker is leaving and the idea he or she is coming up to. In the following examples, the transitional phrases are underlined. Now that we have a clear understanding of the problem, let me share the solution with you. I have spoken so far of Cesar Chavez, the community organizer, but it was his work as labor leader that truly etched his name into American history. Keeping these points in mind about sign language, let's return to the sentence I started with and see if we can learn the signs for "you are my friend." Notice how these phrases remind the listener of the thought just completed, as well as reveal the thought about to be developed. Internal previews. Internal previews let the audience know what the speaker will take up next, but they are more detailed than transitions. In effect, the internal preview works just like the preview statement in a speech introduction, except that it comes in the body of the speech, usually as the speaker is starting to discuss a main point. For example, in discussing how Asian Americans have been stereotyped in the mass media, we'll look first at the origins of the problem and second at its continuing impact today. After hearing this, the audience knows exactly what to listen for as the speaker develops the problem main point. Internal previews are often combined with transitions. For example, now that we have seen how serious the problem of faulty credit reporting is, let's look at some solutions. Internal preview. I will focus on 3 solutions: instituting tighter government regulation of credit bureaus, holding credit bureaus financially responsible for their errors, and giving individuals easier access to their credit reports. You will seldom need an internal preview for each main point in your speech, but be sure to use one whenever you think it will help listeners keep track of your ideas. Internal summaries. Internal summaries are the reverse of internal previews. Rather than letting the listeners know what's coming up next, internal summaries remind listeners of what they have just heard. Such summaries are usually used when a speaker finishes a complicated or particularly important main part or set of main points. For example, in short, palm reading is an ancient art. Developed in China more than 5,000 years ago, was practiced in classical Greece and Rome, flourished during the Middle Ages, survived the Industrial Revolution, and remains popular today in many parts of the world. Internal summaries are an excellent way to clarify and reinforce ideas. By combining them with transitions, you can also lead your audience smoothly into your next main point. Internal summary. Let's pause for a moment to summarize what we have found out so far. First, we have seen that firearm sales at gun shows too often put weapons in the hands of criminals. Second, we have seen that there is almost no accountability for gun show dealers who sell to criminals. Transition. We are now in a position to see what can be done to close the gun show loophole. Signposts. Signposts are very brief statements that indicate exactly where you are in the speech. Frequently, they are just bump numbers. Here is how one student used simple numerical signposts to help her audience keep track of the major causes for the continuing problem of famine in Africa. The first cause of this problem is inefficient agricultural production. The second cause is recurrent drought in the affected countries. The final cause is mismanagement of available food resources by local leaders. Another way to accomplish the same thing is to introduce your main points with a question, as did one student in his speech on mail order fraud. His first main point showed that mail order fraud continues to be a serious problem despite the growth of the internet. He introduced it this way. So, just how curious is the problem of mail order fraud? Is it just a few isolated cases, or is it widespread enough to require serious measures to protect consumers? His second main point dealt with ways to curb mail order fraud. He introduced it by saying, "So how can we solve this problem? Is there a way to protect the rights of legitimate mail order companies while attacking the fraudulent ones? Questions are particularly effective as signposts because they invite subliminal answers and thereby get the audience more involved with the speech. Besides using signposts to indicate where you are in the speech, you can use them to focus attention on key ideas. You can do this with a simple phrase, as in the following example. The most important thing to remember about abstract art is that it is always based in forms in the natural world. The underlined words alert the audience to the fact that an especially significant point is coming up. So do phrases such as these. Be sure to keep in mind. This is crucial to understanding the rest of the speech. Above all, you will need to know. Depending on the needs of your speech, you may want to use 2, 3, or even all 4 kinds of connectives in combination. You needn't worry too much about what they are called, whether this one is a signpost and that is a transition. The important thing is to be aware of their functions. Properly applied connectives can make your speeches more unified and coherent. Summary. Clear organization is vital to speech making. Listeners demand coherence. They get only one chance to grasp a speaker's ideas, and they have little patience for speakers who ramble aimlessly from one idea to another. A well-organized speech will enhance your credibility and make it easier for the audience to understand your message. The process of planning the body of a speech begins when you determine the main points. You should choose them carefully, phrase them precisely, and organize them strategically. Because listeners cannot keep track of a multitude of main points, most speeches should contain no more than 2 to 5. Each should focus on a single idea and should be worded clearly and should receive enough emphasis to be clear and convincing. You can organize main points in various ways depending on your topic, purpose, and audience. Chronological order follows a time pattern, whereas spatial order follows a directional pattern. In causal order, main points are organized according to their cause-effect relationship. Topical order results when you divide your main topic into subtopics. Problem-solution order breaks the body of the speech into 2 main parts, the first showing a problem, the second giving a solution. Supporting materials are the backup ideas for your main points. When organizing supporting materials, make sure they are directly relevant to the main points they are supposed to support. Connectives help tie a speech together. They are words or phrases that join one thought to another and indicate the relationship between them. The 4 major types of speech connectives are transitions, internal previews, internal summaries, and signposts. Using them effectively will make your speeches more unified and coherent.